This is the last part, and that completes the jacket. We need to make the pocket. So I'm still using my work in progress pattern because I want to mark where my pocket is going to be. So I took my front and I closed the dart. Remember that we have a dart right here? This right here is when we did the lining. That's why it's in green and black.
Right.
I'm not counting that. I'm actually counting the front, which it doesn't have the facing dart. We moved this dart into here. That's why you see this dart here. I don't want you to get confused. You don't have two darts. Okay? So I closed the dart with a pin, and then I added the side, because if you have a blazer, I forgot my blazer, your blazers, you're gonna see that they go through the dart, okay, into the back panel. So in reality, what you're gonna do is you're gonna close your dart when you're sewing it, you're gonna sew the side, and then you're gonna do the pockets. Then you can proceed with the rest of the jacket, okay? So we need to do our pocket. We need to decide where it is. Now, why didn't I do it flat? Because once I close the dart, the pocket on the pattern is not going to look like a straight line because it has a shape. When it's sewn, because you close the dart and you sew the side, then it's going to look straight. Can I borrow your straight ruler? I lend it to.
You can use that one.
Yeah. I just need a ruler. All right. So, do we want to have the dart parallel to the waist, or do we want it to have it in a little angle? If it's going to be in an angle, the angle is going to be like this.
The dart or the pocket?
We're talking about dart, pocket. The darts were already made. The pattern is already finished. The pocket. If we want it to be in an angle, we need to have it as if we are wearing it. So it's going to come from the center front down into the side. Okay? If you make the pocket the opposite, you're going to be like kind of weird when you put your hands on it, right? I look like Pee Wee Herman dancing. Okay? So if you want it to be in an angle, it's going to come in this angle. If you want it to be straight, okay? I need to keep in mind that if I overlap the front, this is where the button's gonna be. Sorry, it's 1 inch. This is where the button is gonna be, and I can't have my pocket this close to it. So I don't want it to be on the dart, probably about 1 inch forward towards the center front. And you guys remember how big we did the pocket when we were doing the exercises? 5.5, right? Anywhere between 5.5 and 6 would be good. So I'm gonna push my pattern so it would look straight. I'm gonna start, let's say, 1/2 inch below the waist. I have my notches on the waist, so I know where that 1/2 inch is. This will be my first dot, okay? And I'm gonna place my 1/2 inch below the waist. See the notch of the waist right here? And I'm going to draw that line across, okay? And that measures 5.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Remember that each lip of the double welt pocket was 1/4 inch? And then we have another 1/4 inch for the second lip of your pocket. Okay? So if we square this off, we're gonna have on this pattern these 2 punch holes. Okay? And then on this end, these 2 punch holes, so we know where the pocket goes. Are we all okay so far? Mm-hmm. All right. I don't need to do the bag here. I can actually do it on a separate piece of paper. Okay? You guys have done the pattern already before, but I'll show you one more time on how to do it. Are we all okay?
Yes.
So What we need here on this pattern is just the 2 punch holes. Because when we sew it, those lines will connect. Now you notice that this has a weird angle here, this has a weird angle here, right? Now, you could do, if you're interested, you can make a pattern of this already sewn. Okay? You would make a pattern that would be maybe from here, having the shape of the edge as if it is this sewn all the way up to here, and then you will have the 2 punch holes. In that pattern is a non-cutting pattern. It will be just a guideline. So you will have your piece of cardboard, oak tag, with that shape. So when the operator sews the dart and sews the side and is about to put the pocket, you put that pattern on top of it and you mark the 4 corners, right? Same thing, a dress shirt, like for example, what you have on, or my polo shirt that I have on, I probably would make a rectangle for my placket, and then I would mark a hole where the beginning of the buttonhole is, or where the button goes. And once the shirt is finished, and it's about to put buttonholes and buttons, because I don't want to make a hole and then it shifts a little, the shirt is damaged. So after it's finished, I will put that strip of cardboard on top of it, and then you just mark where all your buttons and your buttonholes go, right? So those are non-cutting patterns. I didn't add it to your cutter's must, but I want you guys to be aware that that happens, right? Maybe for the breast pocket, you will have only from the armpit up, the pattern. So before you stitch it to your shoulder, you rather do the pocket. It's easier when the piece of fabric is flat, right? So you will place a pattern only on the top. Once it's ready for the pocket, and then you just do the 4 corners of that pocket, and then you go ahead and do the pocket. Once that is all prepared, then you can just start building up the garment, right? Let's say, for example, you have buttons on your neckline, right? So I want all my buttons to be exactly the same and at the same distance. I will make a pattern, not of everything, because you probably have a dart to create the cup on your top, right? It will be just a strip of what the neckline will go, right? And then it will be marked where that goes. Let's say, for example, your dress, you have bows on it, right? I will make a non-cutting garment. I mean, they have really landmarks. It matches exactly where it's in, but let's say that it's in a random place, right? You will have a pattern only for the placement of those. So after the skirt is finished and you're ready to put the bows, because it's the last thing that you do, you just put it on top of the skirt and then you mark the position where those things go, right? So those will be non-cutting patterns. Does that make sense? All right. So do we want to do the pattern of the pocket really quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to get my paper. We can leave it here. It doesn't show the other part, right? Okay. So I'm going to draw the fusible first. Okay? We're good? All right. So my fusible, I'm going to leave 1/2 inch seam allowance, 1/4 for the lip, 1/4 for the lip, and then 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is my fusible pattern. Okay? Here we're going to have 1/2 inch, and here I have the punch holes. Are we correct? Then I measure 5.5 inches for the pocket, right here. And then I give it another 1/2 inch. My grain line for the fusible will be right here. And I'm gonna call it pocket fusible. Huh?
No.
Okay. So here are my 4 punch holes. That's your pattern. Okay? Now, we're gonna do the pattern of the piece of fabric that we fold in for the welt on it, right? So this measures 1.5. We're gonna give it another 1.5. Okay? So if I want to just continue, I'm gonna make my line from here to here, because that's the width of what I'm working on. I'm just being a little bit proactive. Okay? This measures 1.5. We're gonna give it 2 inches. Okay? No, actually 2.5. It would be 2 inches to where the punch holes are. So I'm gonna do 2 inches here, 1/4, 1/4, and 2 inches more. Okay? This is cut on self. This is to be cut on self. This is the welt pocket. We have 1/2 inch seam allowance here, and we have 1/2 inch seam allowance here.